Good morning. Am I looking at the right place? Yes, I'm over there. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to this week's Monday Motivation. And I have to be a bit honest, I feel quite fired up. Here's the thing. I spent this weekend at home in London, and this weekend was also London Marathon weekend, which is interesting because some of the Londoners get out of London for London Marathon weekend, and some of us really don't mind being here. So thank you so much for your patience while I scheduled this just a little bit later than I would normally schedule it, by about 10 minutes. And I thought, like, how apt on what I'm still calling the marathon weekend to talk about motivation. So if you are like some of the other people that watch live and like to say hi, please come on and say hello, like Alan. And if you are somebody that prefers to sit in the background and kind of lurk and watch, you're welcome too. Please know that even if your name randomly popped up on my screen, I don't actually acknowledge you unless, like both Alan and now Ivona, you say good morning. So, and France-Lise, good morning France-Lise, good morning Ivona, good morning Alan, thank you so much for watching. So this morning is motivation for motivation, and I like to get my words out on London Marathon weekend. I like to leave a space because every single year I'm motivated, even in the years actually when I didn't live in London and I would watch the London Marathon on TV. There's always an incident or something. So just to give you an example and kind of lay the table as to where we're going to go with this, I'm going to share with you five motivations for motivations because I know that they're transferable. So in 2017, so 2 years ago in the marathon, we all might remember the story that was widely reported in the news of the Welsh runner who was going for his personal best. And as he got a few hundred metres or a few hundred yards even away from the finishing line, he saw a fellow runner who was struggling. He'd practiced, he'd, in fact, his sponsor page, which I sought him out and I sponsored both of them, showed that he'd got through 7 pairs of trainers training for the London Marathon. And he'd done all the preparation he could, but for whatever reason on the day, he became slightly dehydrated and needed help to finish. And this guy going for his personal best, the Welsh runner, decided, you know what, I'm going to help a fella out. So helped him. And one of the rules of the London Marathon is that, somebody has got to, I think this is the rule of the London Marathon and not the Olympics, but the person has got to make it over the finishing line themselves. So he got him all the way to the end, which meant that he basically put his own personal best to one side. And I think the sportsmanship, the camaraderie in doing something as huge as that was just amazing. It inspired and it motivated me. Last year, one of my own friends, who was, funnily enough, from Cardiff, there's a Welsh scene going on here. Good morning, Julia. I wave at Julia. She ran the marathon, and it was interesting how she managed to get around the course quicker than I could do using public transport and trying to intercept the different points. And she ran the marathon and she finished it. And I just remember the brief interaction I had with her. I think it was at mile 22. Where, oh gosh, it was just so inspiring. I had water with me. I had some little kind of like runner-friendly nibbles, and I remember shouting her name a few times before, in kind of like the state of flow, she kind of looked over. I said, what do you need? What do you need? And she said, I need a hug. Bless her heart. So I gave her a hug. As it's well and widely reported now, even on the BBC, I hug, whether it's business or pleasure. So, those two incidents really super motivated me, and I find the marathon motivating. But one of the things, I'm going to be honest with you, that I'm sick and tired of personally is for the last few years, I've known deep down, I really want to run the marathon. And I know the reasons that I've previously told myself why I can't. France-Lise remembers that from last year. Sorry, something's just falling off my shelf and hit me on the back there. But, for many years I've told myself, I want to run. And I'll come on here on marathon weekend and tell you guys I'm so motivated, I'm going to run the marathon. and don't do anything about it. And what sort of an example, like, never mind do I set to you, do I set to my clients, but do I set to myself when I break promises to myself? And this is why this week's Monday motivation is about motivation, because I hope I'm not the only person that has broken promises to myself, who has said there's something I want to do, something I want to achieve, and then found myself backpedaling out of it. You know, there are a few areas in my life where there are things that I want to do and I somehow talk myself off a ledge. And if I'm doing that, and I'm a coach, life coach and business coach, and I motivate other people into being able to do the things they want to do, then surely I should be doing this myself. So yesterday, as I stood watching the London Marathon from a really cool spot, if anyone wants to come and watch the London Marathon next year, hopefully I'll be in it. And even if not, I will show you a cool place to stop and I can come and get my hugs. It's quite early on. It's just before the 5K point, which I think is about 5 mile point. Then I will show you a really cool place to stop. Oh, France Lise, I love you so dearly. France Lise says about every day is one of hers. And you know what? I would be a complete liar if I stood here in front of you and told you that there are things I want to do, and every time I want to do something, I just go, because that's not the truth. However, I would like it to be more of my truth. So the first thing that I would say is take inspiration from wherever you find it. If one of your kids does something that inspires you, take that inspiration. If one of your fellow vibers does something that inspires you, take that inspiration. If, somebody that you don't even know, you see from a distance, maybe you watch the London Marathon on TV, I haven't yet, maybe you saw some things on there, take that inspiration. Take it from wherever you can around you. It doesn't have to be something that's perceived as big. It could be something that somebody under your very nose is doing. So with that in mind, here are just 5, and I say just 5 because there were so many things that went through my mind, and perhaps I should do something a bit more in depth for you in a circle, vibers, as well. But here are some of the things that went through my mind and came up for me yesterday when I was thinking about motivation to motivate. Okay, so with a sip of water, I shall begin. And these are going to be write-a-downables. Number 1, find out more about the thing. Now, let me put this in context. Yesterday, as I stood there watching, I was fortunate enough just to speak to random people around me. One lady who was in her 60s had told me that she'd run the London Marathon twice. And the first time she ran it, she was 57 years of age. She was 57 years old and hadn't ever run before. And she's done it twice. So I found that inspiring because that was a great way to find out more. Somebody else who was standing kind of in the vicinity started talking and speaking in this conversation and said, I want to run the London Marathon. I'm definitely going to do it next year. And this lady said, have you applied? Oh, no, do you have to apply? So when I say find out more, I don't mean find out the level of detail that you want to dig into, so much so that you can start to make your reasons become excuses as to why you can't do something. Just like find out more, find out what you need to do. So Julia says, I'm perfect. I'm always motivated and do exactly what I promise. #not. Julia, you make me laugh. But here's the thing, like at the same time, while I want you to acknowledge what you don't do. Do also acknowledge what you do. But for the purposes of this motivation, and thank you for that, Julia, I'm cracking up. Try not to really, really crack up. For the purposes of this, find out, dig into what you don't do, because it's a really good place to elicit the starting point. It's so interesting when we do this and find out, well, what are the things I keep promising myself, I keep telling myself that I don't do? It elicits whatever it is that needs to come up and out so we can do something with it. And quite often, if we've been used to brushing it onto the carpet, as I have done, it's quite easy to forget, and another year goes by, and another year goes by, and another year goes by. So yeah, I'm cracking up at Julia too, as is France Lise. Ivona says very timely. So step number 1, find out more. Find out more about the thing, which closely follows in step number 2. Step number 2 is find out the next step. Like, what is your next step? We often have aspirations to do things bigger, better, bolder, and we forget that in climbing a staircase, there are steps in between. Doesn't mean that we have to do it slowly. Doesn't mean we have to do it like somebody else is doing it in comparisonitis form. It just means that there are a number of steps. So for those of us, the biggest thing I hear in the business coaching element, people either say that they want a salary increase, or they want to hit like 10k a month, or they want to hit 6 or 7 figures. Now, I don't tend to work with the people that are saying I want to make 7 figures. It's really bizarre. They either want to get to 6 figures, or they come and work with me and they're already a 7-figure business owner, but they don't work with me on the money. They work with me on the visibility, just to be clear. So there are always steps. You can't wake up one morning and say, I want to have a 10k month, but currently you're not used to you're used to having a 0k month. There are a series of steps. Try going for a 1-figure month. Like, go out there and make yourself 10 quid, or something like that, or a pound, or a dollar, or a euro. Go out there and make yourself £10, dollars, or euros. Go out and make yourself $100 or euros. Maybe 1,000, then get into the 5 figures, and very soon you will get into the 6 figures. Simple as that. Morning Faye, thank you for joining. So go for your next step, but more importantly, on number 2, next step, look at what is your next step. So yesterday, I was there thinking I really need to do this. So my find out more was, I wonder when ballots open for the London Marathon. That was I need to find that out, and I wanted to find that out quite quickly. So find out more. So what did I do? I looked then at what's my next step, like not what's everybody else doing. Next step, what is yours? Write that down as a question and just mull it over even for 60 seconds and write the first thing that comes up. Sometimes it's quite random. And then step number 3 is do it. Like, when I say do it, it's like there's a part of a film that my other half talks about, do it. But it's not just about just go out, just do it, just wear yourself thin. Do it, like, ask yourself this question: what can I do right now? So yesterday I was like, okay, I wonder when the ballots open for the London Marathon. And literally, as I went shopping in the supermarket, I got my phone out and realised they opened them yesterday on Marathon Day, and it expires on the 3rd of May. So I found out more. I knew that was my next step. And then I knew the next step. So step number sort of like 2 after the when does the ballot open was, okay, apply. Actually, I tell a lie. The step that came before that is an ex-client of mine, actually, who runs like ultra marathons and does, all the crazy, runs 100 miles, bikes and swims and, does it for a gazillion days and sleeps in a tent for a few hours and all of that. I contacted her and I said, it's time. So 3rd step, do it. What can I do now? I applied. I put my name in the hat. Like, you've got to be in it to win it, right? If you want to win the lottery, you need to buy a ticket. If you want to be in the marathon, you've got to put your ballot in. So that was like, what could I do now? So there was a series of little steps that I did, but 1 step is enough. 1 step is enough. Julia is just saying there, I just saw a comment pop up, the steps are so important. They really are important. Step number 4. I then asked myself, while I was still stood at the side of the marathon, what haven't I done before? I've said this like a few years. Some of you have heard me come on here and say this, but what haven't I done before? Like, rather than saying the same old thing and keeping the same old actions, wasn't it Einstein that said insanity is doing the same thing and expecting the same results, the definition of insanity? Well, what haven't I done before? And what was interesting was I really connected into how I felt about wanting to run the marathon. And a couple of close friends of mine, unfortunately, got a selfie of me in floods of tears. People at the marathon must have thought, what's going on? Has that person dropped out or something like that? But I find the marathon really emotional. And I wanted to savour that moment that emotional moment, because I need that as my driver to make sure that I do what I say I'm going to do. And I haven't ever done that before. And I, to be honest, don't know what made me do that, but I just really felt it. So what haven't you done before? So one of the things I hadn't done before is I hadn't reached out to the past client and said, okay, let's do this. Let's start the training. I know that you need at least a minimum year of training. So let me do this. And I am going to start training as if the ballot has come back and said yes. And you know what? If I can't run the London Marathon, wouldn't it be good to get my gums around some half marathons or, you know, some shorter runs? So this brings me on to step 5. Act as if it is happening anyway. Now, there are certain times when you act as if it has already happened and you kind of like, you project yourself into the future. Maybe I'm like, yay, crying at the finishing line because I cry at everything, you know, with my medal around my neck. Or perhaps it's like, okay, so I've got that under my belt and now I'm going to do the next thing. Perhaps it's that you've made the target that you've wanted to make, and what are you going to do with it? And the reason for that is if you act as if it has already happened or it is already happening, you start to take the actions of doing the thing. You ask yourself a question like, who does the person who has run the marathon, or who's the person who is training to run the London Marathon, like who is that person? What do they do? Do they get out of bed and go, oh, I'm feeling a bit tired today, I don't think I'm going to bother running? No. They go and do it anyway. Do they think about preparing, like what are they going to wear? Do they want someone to take pictures at certain points? Do they want support? Do they not want support? Do they want to tell people? Do they not want to tell people? Be that person. So I'd be interested to know. Either carry on the conversation in the comments below down here, which of course is a public page, or hop into the Vibes Tribe and carry on the conversation there. Use the hashtag Monday Motivation and like, what is the thing that's come to mind? You might have a few things, as I do. There are other things as well. But what is the one thing that's come to mind that you want to do? You want to be motivated to be motivated. What is it? Either share it here with us, as I say publicly, or continue the conversation in Monday Motivation. Or if there's something that I've said, and I know that many of you are coaches and motivate your own people and clients as well. Some of you are motivating your team. Some of you are motivating and starting a movement. If this is you and you're even watching this on the replay, go in to the Vibes Tribe group, put the hashtag Monday Motivation, and either share a nugget of wisdom that you would give to motivate somebody else, even me, or what is it that you want to do to motivate yourself, or both. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm really pumped this morning. There are a number of steps, multiple steps that I have done that I haven't done before, and one includes downloading this video, posting it to YouTube, as I do most weeks. So if you haven't seen me on YouTube, just Google Jenny Kovacs on YouTube and you'll see my channel. Go subscribe over there, because there's content that's going into there that isn't going to be here on Facebook. So go over and do that. But most importantly, if you can scroll down, you'll see a post where I mention a guy called Stuart yesterday. Stuart was somebody that attended a talk that I did quite recently in the travel industry. He owns his own travel agency, and I can't remember the name of his travel business to shout him out. But here's what's important. When I met Stuart, he mentioned that he was running a marathon. I didn't know his story and I didn't know why. So in a nutshell, Stuart's story is that he went through male cancer in 2017, and even up to last year was still getting treatment. Do you know what? Stuart ran the London Marathon yesterday and he finished it in under 6 hours. He finished it at 5 hours and 16 minutes, I think it was. So further down, just, you know, a couple of posts down on this page, you'll find a picture of Stuart's finishing time and a link where you can go, and even if it's just £1 that you can give, I know he's got through his target, but I think he thoroughly deserves it. When you see the expressions on some of those runners' faces, when you hear the stories, some of them come over and get hugs from their family. One guy said, you know, he literally just started and he felt his knee go, gave his, you know, partner a massive hug and said, but I need to do this, and off he went, you know. I think about that, and I think it's that makes me emotional too. So at the risk of blubbing all over this Facebook Live to you, go check it out. If it feels good to you to even just give Stuart £1, and let me know what your things are. What are you going to be motivating yourself to be motivated? Ivona says, I'm making notes in my Follow Your Dreams, They Know the Way notebook. It's new. How weird is that? Oh, that is a lovely bit of synchronicity or serendipity. I can't speak today. I love that. I'm nosy by nature. I'd love to know what it is. And if you're one of my Inner Circle Vibers, part of the Be Seen Academy, you can go into your special group, share it in there. Let's get the support of everyone around me. I know that anytime I talk about wanting to run the marathon, Alan gives me a smackdown. So Alan, you are welcome to give me a smackdown in the Inner Circle Vibes. And for those of you that are saying, what on earth is smackdown? Real talk, tough talk. Jenny, you said this. Go do it. And I will return the favour. Thank you so much for joining me live. I look forward to seeing what you share today. And remember to share this with whoever you can on your timeline as a private message. There'll be somebody that probably needs a bit of motivation that you just don't know about. Thank you for watching live and on the replays. Thank you so much. Bye for now.